Hello and welcome to my show, The Rogue Admiral. An explosion, a fan theory, but mostly just headcanon. So, here we go. Well, today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the Cardassian Union and the fate of the Cardassian people. The last time we saw the Cardassians, they were in a very, very sorry state of affairs. It was the last episode of Deep Space Nine, and their armies had been defeated. They'd been driven back on every front. Their empire had been lost. They were fighting for the very soil of their homeland. Their fleet was fighting in the skies. However, their gracious allies, the Dominion, had turned against them, installed a puppet government in Cardassia, and had begun to genocide the Cardassian people in their own cities and in their own homes. However, the Dominion were overthrown. Garak and his rebellion had overthrown the puppet government. The Federation alliance had smashed the Dominion in space, and Cardassia was in ruins. Not a good place to be if you're a Cardassian. I feel sorry for them. I feel bad, man. They rolled the dice, they fought a good war, but ultimately they were on the wrong side of history this time. Now, the fan theory I'd like to talk about today is where Cardassia would go from there. And it's very, very popular to say that Cardassia would try to rebuild and then ultimately become a member of the Federation. And this is a happy-go-lucky fanboy theory which thinks that the Federation is the place to be, and the claws of the Federation would grasp one planet after the next, and would all be happy little Fonzies together. And on the face of it, it sounds legit. It goes a little something like this.
And it goes a little something like this.
The Federation would supply, firstly, they would establish their own government in Cardassia, a Federation puppet government. Then they would supply Cardassia with replicators, with aid, help them rebuild, and push Cardassia back to a good living standard and a happy place to be for them. The Cardassians, feeling like they've been liberated by the Federation, would be grateful and ultimately seek membership. However, their world, a once great, vast, powerful interstellar empire, is diminished to nothing but a planetary state and a member of a greater interstellar federation. I know that this seems plausible, it seems likely to a lot of people. However, I disagree. And I disagree because let's examine first where the Cardassian people came from. In the episode The Chain of Command, the Cardassian commander explains that Cardassia was once an enlightened artistic culture where people prospered and were happy. However, there was a great cataclysm, and the Cardassians were forced into poverty, into famine, and possibly into infighting. Then, to resolve this crisis, the military took over and formed a dictatorship, basically a military fascist state, not quite unlike Oliver Cromwell formed after the Civil War in Great Britain back in the 17th century. But we're not here to discuss history. So the military pulled Cardassia out of poverty and formed them into one great country, one planetary nation. From there, they branched into the stars, they formed colonies, and they pushed out their influence. Then, across the Gulf of Space, they saw the Bajorans and exercised their power and might and invaded Bajor. As Gul Dukat once said, "We did not choose to be the superior race. Destiny handed us that role." The Cardassian people believe themselves a people of greatness and a people of destiny. And if you believe that as a people, inside your heart and inside your Cardassian soul, you may know that you are trampled down in the moment by poverty, by famine, by military defeat. But in your heart you believe that in the future your greatness will return to you. Gul Dukat believes that. Damar believes that. That's the reason Damar led his rebellion in the first place. He looked himself in the mirror and thought, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a puppet governor, I'm an in effect a traitor. But this is only in the moment, and I can turn that around, and the Cardassian fire inside me will fight on and push on until the greatness of Cardassia is restored. Now that is the mentality of the Cardassian people. So, on one hand, you could say that once Cardassia is defeated, the Federation is giving them aid and establishing a new government. They could nod along and go along with it like sheep and eventually become members of the Federation. Or, in their hearts, they could look at all these star systems that once belonged to them. They could look at the star systems which are now empty, that once belonged to the Marquis. But in the Cardassian hearts, once a Cardassian's put his foot on a piece of soil, that soil is Cardassian. Gul Dukat never really accepted that Bajor was independent. He thought in his heart that Bajor belonged to him. And I think the reason for the invasion of Bajor is because after the fascist government secured Cardassia, and built the Cardassian Union, they saw Bajor as a symbol of the Cardassian pride and Cardassian military greatness, the conquest of this planet, especially a planet that was once so similar to Cardassia itself. And there's obviously there's that theory that the Cardassians and the Bajorans are one and the same race. So the invasion of Cardassia, from a military point of view, from a realpolitik point of view, like Bismarck in Germany, is to launch an invasion, defeat your enemy, plant your flag, and say, look at what we've achieved. So I think the invasion of Bajor, from the Cardassian perspective, was a good thing. However, the occupation of Bajor did not go to plan. But that's a video for a different time. So with this Federation theory that Cardassia would eventually become a Federation colony, there is one thing that the fanboy theorists miss out. And that's in the skies above Cardassia, after the Great Battle of Cardassia, and Ben Sisko's sipping his blood wine outside the ruins of the Cardassian Parliament, the Cardassian Imperial fleet is still in the sky. Yes, they changed sides during the battle to attack the Dominion, but they didn't change sides and surrender to the Federation. They changed sides for their own self-interest and their own self-preservation. They would be docile while the Federation was there and occupied Cardassia for the moment, because they could not fight against the fleets of the Romulans, the Klingons, and the Federation. They knew they'd lost the battle, but the fleet still existed. So in my theory is that the new Cardassian government, a Federation democracy, would emerge in Cardassia. They would accept Federation aid. But the soldiers of Cardassia are loyal to the captains of the Cardassian Imperial fleet. And the sailors aboard that fleet are loyal to their captains. And the captains amongst themselves would choose a leader. And when they went and spoke to the Parliament and said, we want this, the Parliament, which naturally the Cardassians have a great respect for their military, and they fear the power of the Cardassian captains, because political power flows through the barrel of a gun, and interstellar power flows through the phaser banks of a starship. I think the Cardassian captains would have a coup and overthrow this new government and reinstall the military power and the military government that Cardassia formerly had. They would look to the ruins of the Cardassian Union, but they wouldn't see devastation and have tears in their eyes for what was lost. They would have a new vigour and see planets that are empty ready for Cardassian colonization. They would look at the empty Marquis planets and see they're ready for Cardassian colonizers. They would rebuild Cardassia and look to the future and look to the stars and know that to each side of them there is enemies, the hated, despised Klingons. the treacherous Romulans, and that great empire called the Federation, which has been their adversary from the start. And they would say that we, the Cardassian people, are a people of destiny, and we will not accept second-rate status. We will conquer the stars in this life, and tomorrow we'll do it for ourselves, we'll do it for our children, and we'll do it for all our sons. That's my theory, guys. You could call it the Cardassian resurgence. Thanks for listening. I hope you've had a great time. I had a great time making it. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.